And the data and the research is just skewed. You say, for one thing, we're studying the wrong sorts of groups. You call them weird societies. I'd love you to spell that out. And then the other is that when the research that you dig up, when you go and look at people outside of these weird societies, some of the assumptions we make about intention and motivation and how to change behavior are just totally wrong.
So a lot of the research that's been going on in recent years to say, well, how do people actually behave? It's been done by professors in the States, in Australia, in Israel, and they do what's convenient, right? They just turn to their students and they run tests with their students and they say, oh, this is what people are like. And then one researcher went off and did the same test with forest living communities in Indonesia or native people in all sorts of very different cultures. It came back with completely different results. And he said, the students who are at the doorstep of all these professors, they're weird. And what that means is we're Western, educated, industrial, rich, and democratic. So that's the acronym WEIRD. And actually, they're not like most people at all. In fact, the way that the weird ones behave is at one end of the spectrum. So you cannot just interview your students and say this is what people are like. You're getting a very, very skewed particular version of humanity. So he launched off a whole area of research and looking at the diversity of people. And sometimes when people live in very market-based economies, they behave in one way. When they're based in economies that are subsistence, that don't have markets, families share, their behavior can be quite different. It just shows the variety of human behavior. We adapt and respond to the conditions around us.
So what do you recommend that we do? One thing, can we actually grow and be green? Can you run a business in that kind of warm, just, safe part of the donut?
Yes, I think you can, because we need to transform our economies. Today, they are deeply divisive, giving rewards to the 1%, and degenerative, running down the living planet on which we depend. We need to transform them so that they are distributive, sharing value with everyone who helps create it, and regenerative. That's an amazing transformation that needs to happen. And in that process, there are very clearly some industries that really need to grow. Solar capacity, right? Renewable energy, that's a wonderful growth field. So if someone's working in a company in that area, of course there's going to be growth there. That's an opportunity. So we need to grow back into balance. The incomes of people living on very, very low incomes, their incomes need to grow back into balance. So there are opportunities for sure.
But we've certainly interviewed people on this program who have tried. They've had very well-intentioned businesses. I'm thinking, you mentioned Anita Roddick in your book. We've had Ben and Jerry, the folks from the ice cream company in Vermont, on this show. And both of them came into the same conflict with their shareholders, that their kind of mission of being regenerative or beneficial to their community wasn't so beneficial to the shareholders. And they, at the end of the day, kind of lost their companies to buyouts, or at least Ben and Jerry's did.
So this is the fascinating, I think it's going to be a psychological drama between what I would call 21st century companies and regenerative design and 20th century capitalism. Because the 21st century designer says, how many benefits can I layer into this company so that I can actually give some away? That's the Ben and Jerry's mentality, the Body Shop mentality. 20th century capital finance says, how much value can I extract from this? Now, when you try and start a 21st century company that's generating value and giving away to the community, the environment, and you're going to be financed by these financiers who are just trying to maximize and extract the value they can capture, that is what pulls them down. And that's why we need to transform finance. So we need new kinds of financing that actually say, I want to also get a fair return for my money, but I want to give some away as well. And that's why I back these companies. It just shows that the design possibilities are out there, whether it's designing a regenerative city or a regenerative company. They need to be backed up by finance that actually unleashes the power of what they know they can create.
You've used the word design a few times. Design does require someone or group of people to be designing and kind of implementing a design. So what's the role for governance in all of this? If you didn't like industrial capitalism, didn't like finance capitalism, didn't like state socialism, who helps to direct our design in this new direction?
I love that question. I do use the word design very intentionally because I think in the 20th century, economists were desperate to be like physicists. They thought this was this reputable science and make it like physics, and there's all these laws that the economy follows. Wrong choice. The career that economists should actually take, career shift from controlling the levers of some mechanical economy. Levers don't exist. Economy is not a machine. We should be like garden designers. And the economy is more like a garden, ever evolving and changing. And some people say that sounds very laissez-faire. Well, they've never done a hard day's work in the garden because it's digging and weeding and pruning, and you shape and design your garden. So who are the designers? I think we're all designers. Anybody who's designing a new suburb of a city is a designer of the 21st century economy. And they're bringing in these regenerative principles and distributive principles. What we need from government is to create and enable people to create the legal business models that allow them to put purpose at the heart of their company, that allow them and make it easy to be employee-owned and to have finance that supports this regenerative design. We need governments to ban single-use plastics, ban putting useful materials in landfill, and give a long, legal and loud message about that so everybody knows that's going to be phased out within 5 years, guys. So start changing a business right now. So put those frameworks in place so that we get a regenerative economy happening.
You say more maypole dancing.
So maypole dancing. So I think economists are treated very serious. These are the real specialists. I think of that as sort of Lord of the Dance, the kingpin dancer at the front and all the other subjects and all the other ways of thinking behind, like a chorus line. What we actually need is maypole dancing, where you've each got your ribbon and you're weaving in and out. So John Maynard Keynes, John Stuart Mill, the great philosophers of the past, they understood this. They said a truly great economist is also a historian and a mathematician, understands sociology, understands political science. An economic angle on life is just one part of the whole. We have to be rounded and work together and really embed economics back in the social world from which it came.
Kate Raworth's book is Doughnut Economics. It's my new favorite economics textbook. 7 Ways to Think Like a 21st Century Economist. It's just out from Chelsea Green. Really great talking with you.